Well, first of all, good morning and good morning to our cherished listeners, including Madam on the Zoom. I think that we cannot have this conversation conclusively without looking at making references to the past. And I've said that in this country we've had illegal mining issues for decades. But the awakening came when all of us decided that the effects are so high, there was a need to fight same. In the last 8 years, the mentality of the Chinese ambassador coincides with what President Akufo-Addo left us as Ghanaians. Because much as we're willing to fight illegal mining, President Akufo-Addo actually went into a hidden partnership with the Chinese, where our forest reserves, particular, was given on a silver platter to these people, including officials in government. And what is even more dangerous is that they didn't have the temerity to do, responsible mining. What is illegal about mining is your adherence to the laws regulating mining, i.e., the Minerals Commission regulations and then the EPA regulations. They did so with flagrant disregard to these laws, where if you check in the last 8 years, the number of excavators imported in this country is unprecedented. And all of these excavators were sent to our forest reserves without, one, any regard to the forest itself, two, without any deliberate steps to ensure that through the Ministry of Lands, through Minerals Commission and through EPA, these mining activities that President Akufo-Addo allowed to extend to our forest reserves was regulated. It was free for all for his appointees and with his concurrence. Here we have come, 5 months, 6 months down the line. We have not yet prosecuted the individuals who have gone into our forest reserve because, mind you, if you are given a mining lease to mine in the forest reserve, it ties you into ensuring that you do responsible mining. So much as we are, at the neck of Chamanun to me for illegal mining, the same should apply to whether you are a Chinese or any other individual who was given a mining lease to mine in the forest reserve, and we are all aware that they've not done responsible mining, particularly reclamation and reforestation. Now, the MPP suddenly expect that...
Mustapha, before you continue, I just want to acknowledge the MCE for Cape Coast Metropolitan Assembly, George Justice Arthur. We'll be discussing that massive demolition exercise happening in Cape Coast. So, Mr. Justice Arthur, welcome to the program. Stay with us. We'll come to you in a bit. Okay, go ahead.
I am aware that in the last 5 months, there have been some surgical military intervention in our forest reserves led by the Minister for Defense to recover or to reclaim these forests from persons who've been given licenses to mine in these forest reserves. I'm also aware that the current Minister for Interior, Honorable Mustapha Gbande, vigorously is seizing excavators with a regulation to try and, control importation, movement of excavators in and within mining regions, such that the authorities or government authorities will be aware of where a particular excavator is being sent to, so that we can monitor their activities. I am also aware that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources is trying to reorganize what we call small-scale mining to ensure that whatever they do is in compliance with our laws and whatever is required to do to protect our environment.
That sort of agrees with what the Chinese ambassador said.
Well, of course.
We should focus on the aftermath, fixing the aftermath, rather than solving the Galamsey.
I will not. No, that comment should not be coming from the Chinese ambassador, because you see, the Chinese are an integral part of the threat on our environment as far as mining is concerned. So it doesn't lie in his mouth to say these things, because in the last 6 months, majority of the people who have been caught in illegal mining are Chinese. And when the minister tried to, extradite them, they get offended. Because when you have your nationals coming into our country to leave us with this devastating effect of irresponsible mining, when in your country you cannot do that, you should be worried. Just as government of Ghana is worried and trying to deal with the issue as a social security matter, where we have to ensure that livelihood continues, but we protect our environment and our vegetation. It shouldn't be coming from the Chinese ambassador. I'm saying that the Chinese, with President Akufo-Addo, are the ones who have left us with this greatest devastation in the last 8 years. And I have been advocating that any individual who have been given a lease to mine, we should have police and a combined unit of intelligence officers going into the communities to investigate and ascertain the persons who have mined, destroyed our streams, prosecute those individuals. Now, I am also aware that the Minister for Lands and Natural Resources have been introducing what we call reorganizing of what the MPP brought. They call it, they have a name for it. They are community mining.
Okay.
We are going into some sort of cooperative mining where small scale will no longer be an individual, but a group of small scale miners coming together, take a particular concession, they are being regulated to mine. You cannot get up and go and say that you have banned mining completely, when we all do know that even in the small scale mining, it is not everybody that is doing illegal mining. There are individuals who are mining small scale, but doing so responsibly without destroying water bodies.
Again, let me interject at this point. That's why in the lead up to election 2024, the demands were pause all small scale mining to restructure it. That didn't happen. Repeal LI 2462, that hasn't happened. We're talking about an amendment as we speak. Declare some sort of temporary state of emergency, that didn't happen. Yeah. So, I mean, it lies within our hands as Ghanaians to question you and say that why aren't you doing the things that you agreed to lead up to the election now that you're in office?
Look, as far as I'm concerned, President Mahama and our government have given fidelity to commitment to fight illegal mining. I know that because the number of excavators that have been impounded in the last 1 month are a lot. If you check with the Ghana Police Service, and most of these people are persons who are mining. So you may not necessarily have stopped mining, but you are identifying places where they are mining illegally and decommissioning the tools that they use to mine. And one of such tools has to do with excavators. It cannot all be done in a day. But I think that if we have had this commitment in the last 8 years, our government would have built upon what was done in the last 8 years. But we are here starting from ground zero, where we have to deal with the challenges that will come from our own party, plus what President Akufo-Addo and his government have left. And that is very enormous. You, Joy FM, you did documentaries on these things. Does that mean that after change of government, the devastation is suddenly taken away? It compounds rather. Whatever has been done, the pits that were dug and left unattended to in the last 8 years are still pits that give us devastation. The mining that blocked the flow of river bodies and streams. We have not yet invested money to go and straighten, to trench these streams to ensure that they are flowing. And so most of the rivers are now stagnant.
So in summary, are you saying that the government is taking this fight as seriously as the Ghanaian?
Look, President Mahama have made it very clear. President Mahama has made it very clear that one, no government appointee should be involved in mining. Let's talk of, small-scale mining or illegal mining. You didn't see that same commitment in the last 8 years because President Akufo-Addo actually sanctioned it. He supervised it where his appointees were miners, and we have evidence of these things all over the place. Right. Number two, the government have made it very clear that whoever is engaged in illegal mining will face the law. So it is up to all of us to expose persons and individuals within and outside government who are engaged or who support illegal mining to continue. But as far as I'm concerned, I just told you the Minister of Defense's commitment and contribution. I just told you the Minister of Lands and Natural Resources commitment and contribution. I just also told you for the first time the unprecedented commitment of the Minister for Interior, where people have been even extradited for being arrested for these things. It is for us to support and ensure that government is on course. We should not, just be calling for state of emergency. As a student of security, and Kabila is here, I'm sure that you agree, state of emergency is not something you just have to impose. Look, as we speak today, the forest reserves are a no-go area. You have seen the calculated, deliberate, surgical attack by the military on these places. As we speak, you have evidence that most of these forest reserves
Mr. wrap up on this
are being retrieved. And so where is the need for state of emergency when the internal systems to fight illegal mining is actually commitment, and that commitment is seen and is visible? 2, making sure that the institutions that are responsible are working, and those institutions are working more than they have worked before. Right. Would you say that we are not doing anything and that we should wake up and declare state of emergency when your dollar is coming down, when your economy is being revived, largely because of good regulations? So it's a matter that we need to handle with tact, carefulness, and all of that.
So you're saying that you're doing some work. The demands that the Ghanaian made,
yes,
we may not necessarily see that materialize, but you're doing the best that you can to fix the problem and then solve it in totality.
Ghanaians will see our river bodies being cleared up again. Ghanaians will see some sort of stability in terms of our mining industry.
You just said something that I think that you owe it to all of us and the listeners.
Yeah.
Which appointee of Akufo-Addo was involved in illegal mining?
What? Do you want us to go?
No, mention one.
No, are you there?
Are you there? I don't have to be their spokesperson.
But you are not their spokesperson.
Because you see, wait.
You want us to get into that conversation?
You see, I deliberately kept away from regime comparisons.
No, but that's what
when I was discussing that.
Yes.
Do you know why? In 2009, I sat in the office of Honorable Collins Zauda, who had then been made Minister for Natural Resources. When they signed, he had signed the final, they had, within that period, granted the mining lease to Newmont to mine into the Ajinwa Bipo Forest Reserve, which contained a royal cemetery for royal bodies to be excavated. So when we want to talk about this licensing to... I'm not digressing.
That's what you are doing.
I'm saying you just sat here.
Now we are talking about 2000 and this thing.
You talked about the past 8 years.
Ask if I could give you evidence of President.
Okay, so let's do it this way. Let's do it this way. He's looking... So, Dr. Bonfe, hold on for me. Let me do this for you. Mustapha, can you just name one person to satisfy one appointee of NPP who was involved in illegal mining?
Kabila wants us to get to that.
Mention one.
I'll decline his invitation, but I'm saying that.
But you did say right here that
I've said it.
Under his administration there were people involved in...
When I begin that conversation, it's a long topic to discuss.
It is not.
To name one person?
It is. You want to rubbish the topic, but I'm saying that if you want us to do regime comparison, anyway. Let's come back here to name and shame. And let's come back here to name. But I'm saying that President Akufo-Addo's regime had its appointees keenly involved.
If you can't mention even one of the appointees, then it would be unfair to make the statement.
No, once we are not discussing that topic.
But you know that there are people in your administration too who they are pointing fingers at.
President Mahama is looking for those people. Mention their names.
There's the Alwyn MC also, who was a very topical one.
No,
what has happened to him?
That one was an issue where we all saw it. His constituents, had to block the military. For me, that is offensive conduct, but we don't have evidence that he was doing illegal mining.
All right. So let's move on. Our time is...